Hey there, Taurus. I hope you are well. And I hope whatever time it is where you are that you had or will have a productive day, because I certainly have so far, and it's not noon yet. And that's thanks to you. Because I was up early this morning and I wanted to do your reading. And I was tuning in into your sign. And then I couldn't start the reading. I had to sit down and not redo, add some more substance to the theory that I use, like about tarot and astrology and the Kabbalah system that I use, the Tree of Life, because I had not included the major arcana. And that was because how the Golden Dawn did it and Aleister Crowley just didn't really make sense to me, so I rejected their solution, which often happens to me, that I kind of reject something like traditional things, and that's very un-Taurian in a way. But then again, I think we are kind of running on, what's the word? On a false sense of everything, really. And that includes the zodiac signs, the signs of the zodiac. I mean, it's not everything wrong. There's always truth in everything somewhere, sometimes hard to find. Because a lie is energetically very expensive. So it's easier to twist and turn a truth than to really reinvent the wheel, so to speak, with a lie and come up with something entirely new. And I think this was happening with you, Taurus, with your reading, or when I attempted to do your reading at first, because I have a moon in Taurus as well. So I have a very significant Taurian placement. I also have my North Node. I think it's my North Node in Taurus. I can never really remember which one's in Scorpio and which one's in Taurus. Anyway, it's kind of ridiculous that when you don't know your own horoscope that well. I mean, I stared at that thing for days, like not hours, days on end, like day after day after day, whatever. So yeah, but I think I have a pretty solid solution now, which is more intuitive and less logical than how the Golden Dawn approached it. I think the major arcana cards tell the story themselves. They kind of told me where they needed to go. Yeah, let's see what is happening for you though in the upcoming month. And let's see if there are any major arcana popping up that I needed to have, like, which I think will happen, because I needed to prepare a more systematic approach towards understanding the major arcana in preparation for your reading. But we see. But anyway, all the readings that I'm doing right now are for the current lunar cycle, which just started with a new moon in Sagittarius, happening at the very end of Sagittarius. And that part of Sag is associated with the Ten of Wands. Now, the Ten of Wands is not the easiest card in the tarot deck, but anyway, which card is really easy? It always depends on us, what we make of the energy and how it hits us, so to speak. And traditionally, the Ten of Wands is considered to be a burdensome energy, like it's this person who is carrying a bunch of staffs and his center of gravity is off, and you're wondering, why is he carrying these 10 wands in this peculiar way. He's almost tripping. Like, it looks very awkward. But if you look at the decans and what the Egyptians and the Greek and the Golden Dawn and whatnot, like thousands of years of lore, what they thought about the Ten of Wands and such, the third decan of Sagittarius is what would I sum up to the keyword consequences. And consequences can be either good or bad, like, depends on how you look at them. But they're definitely based on decisions that we made in the past and their result, their outcome in the present moment. And sometimes we make decisions and we do not anticipate a certain consequence of them. And I think that's part of what this lunar cycle is about. Like, it is kind of following through. Are you gonna, like, now that you see the consequence or a consequence or the consequences of your past decisions, are you sticking with your decision or are you changing your decision? And both is fine. Like, there is no better or worse here. There's no obvious right solution. So in the case that you're sticking with your decision, perhaps you have to suffer the consequences, but the consequences are painful in the short term, but perhaps very beneficial for you in the long term. And of course, that's up to you to decide whether it is or perhaps it's not. And if you're figuring out perhaps that a past decision was not favorable for your current situation, also in light of a longer period of time, which I think is the most important one. Like, short term, we can always, well, not always, but if we have the capacities, we can endure some pain. But it has to lead to something better in the future. Like, that's what I'm working with anyway. I think that's very sensible to do. So yeah, it is in that way not really. It is a bit of a time for discernment. Like, discerning whether we can endure something bad in the short term for something good to grow out of it, from it, long term, or whether we are shown that this is like a path that we should not walk, basically. So I pre-shuffled these cards. I have I wanted to show you the decks that I use. And this one, I forgot to get the box from the other room, but I have a similar deck from the same authors. This is the Druid Plant Oracle, and the cards that I have here, it's the same format, the same illustrator, which is Will Worthington. His name is right here. But it's the tarot version. This is just the plant oracle, so not tarot. I'm gonna put this here. All right. These are the main cards that I use, and then we have, where is it? There they are. As the first clarifying deck, I have Edmund Dulac, and then the Crystal Tarot. The Crystal Tarot is an AI deck, so completely drawn by AI, obviously supervised by humans. At least that's what I was told. That's what I meant to believe. So not completely AI. Maybe that's coming in the future. AI kind of presenting us with products. Look what the NIH just invented. Ooh. No, I don't know. I think there's something very weird coming up in the not so distant future, but let's have a look at the... Well, we are in the here and now, but we're gonna look from the here and now into your past. The point of view that you need right now on your past. Because I don't really believe in oracling things. Like in the sense that you can predict the future. I don't think that's possible. But we can always have a perspective. So for your past, we have the Page of Cups and the Four of Cups. I love the pages, by the way, so I'm going to talk about them in a bit, but let's get some cards on the table first. What does Taurus need to know about the present situation for most of Capricorn season? That was an interesting drop on the floor again. 2 cards again, the World and the King of Cups. Let's sort them a bit. Okay, can we have 1 card please now for the future? 1 card, please. 1 card for the future for Taurus for the current lunar cycle. Thank you. The 2 of Wands. Alright. And then we have the 10 of Swords at the bottom. Okay. Now the 10 of Swords is not the most popular card among tarot readers, I want to say. For me, it's actually not necessarily a bad card. I mean, there's like literal backstabbing going on in this card, but it is... The Deacon summed up into a keyword is more about awareness. So it's not so much about the backstabbing process itself. It's more like realizing where you have where you still have swords stuck in your back, I want to say. So past wounds, more like. So it's not about that you've been betrayed or whatnot, because at the end of the day, when these kind of things, when we discover these kind of things, like betrayal in any shape or form, it's really that we betrayed ourselves. We have not lived a life that was following our entirely true self, like to the last degree. And of course, we are all subject to that, because we are all not there yet, where we live, where we are a representation of our true, authentic self. And in the moments that we discover a betrayal of any kind, we are given the opportunity to change something in our lives in order to become a more authentic version of ourselves. And that's, I think, what the awareness that the Deacon, the associated Deacon with the 10 of Swords, is talking about. So overall, it is an awareness card, a mercurial card, a focus of your attention card. So that's very important in this lunar cycle, where you put your attention. But it's also a card that talks about your light, your inner light, because it's a sun card. It's Sun in Gemini. Gemini again. An airy card, a swordsy card. And then it's also a 10, so something comes into manifestation, comes to the forefront. Yeah. So in your past, you have the Princess of Cups and the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is a card that I call luxury. It's the moon. Yeah, it's the moon in Cancer, and it's also a Jupiter card, and all the fours are Jupiter cards. So it is a card that talks about the subconscious, because the moon is the planetary representation of our subconscious. And it is like the big moon. It's the, what is the big moon called again? Like the super moon. It's a super moon, basically, because Jupiter expands everything that it touches. And a super big subconscious influence on our lives, rather, is probably luxury. And that might sound weird, but then again, I mean, the subconscious is basically a filter on our thoughts and on our emotions. I don't really think that our thoughts are generated in our brain. I think we rather receive all of our thoughts through our subconscious. So our brain is basically like a gigantic satellite dish that comes, like, for me, most tangibly. I can connect to this kind of theory, to, like, it's almost a sensation when I'm learning or when I'm using foreign languages. So right now I'm struggling, for example, very much with my English, with my pronunciation, because I've not used English for, like, not a whole lot, for a year. And I feel like my satellite dish for the English language has deteriorated over this past year, and now I'm building it up again, kind of relearning how to move my mouth. Like, pronunciation is about mouth movement. It's like these tiny little habitual patterns that you use that are very particular to each language, and that's why you can be almost fluent in a language. Like, if you write, nobody would notice that this language is not your mother tongue, but once you open your mouth, it's very apparent, because you still have an accent, so you lack that last bit of fluency in that regard. And that can be because you have not adopted the attitude, the habitual mouth movements of that language. So it's also a cultural assimilation that you need to go through in order to have that right accent. So and I lost something there. I went back to German university to study Hebrew and theology. And so I used my mother tongue a lot again, and I lost the attitude. I lost the American attitude, because that's what I rotate towards subconsciously. That's our key word here. Coming back to your reading, yeah. Sometimes, no, often. Always, our subconscious is talking to us. We perceive reality through our subconscious. I think that's what I'm trying to get out here. In all ways, very subtle ways, very obvious ways, all the ways of what we really do in the physical world here. And the Princess of Cups is the Page of Cups. It's the first half of the calendar, and the calendar for me starts with Libra. So we're like a quarter into the new year already in my mind. We just crossed into the second quarter. Kind of like we're just at this first quarter moon point if you compare the entire year to the lunar cycle. And the Page of Cups is working in the background of the first 3 months, so end of September through end of December. And the page is giving the page is the most innocent force there is among the court cards. It's the most immature, or yeah, it is the most immature in like seen from a more like practical kind of way. So it's a girl, and she is becoming the queen. So that would be Libra. Or is it Libra? No, it's actually the Queen of Pentacles, so Capricorn. Because, yeah, I'm gonna explain that another time. It's a bit complicated, and I need an illustration for that, and I have not made it yet. So the Princess of Cups is a force working in the background, forming or becoming the pre form of the Queen of Pentacles, the Capricorn influence that we are under right now. So it's literally what this project, what this reading is about in its essence. It's like literally the past, what has been, what is not any longer. And how does the princess become the queen? It is by the king laying eyes on her. So once the princess meets her king, she becomes the queen, basically. It's like an immediate maturation the princess goes through. And then as a queen, she can give birth to the knight, which then on its own, the knight has to become the king, like without the influence of the woman. He has to do it on his own, basically. That's the story that I have for the court cards. Now let's see what else we can see about this process in the invisible world, but because that's really what the princess, the Page of Cups, is about in the emotional world. And we have another Cups card, 8 of Cups, which is double 4 of Cups. And the 8 of Cups is the first decan of Pisces, which I call the search, the big search. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and it's very, like, Jupiter is expanding everything that it touches, like I said. And for Pisces, it touches the inside. So Pisces is very rich on the inside and is one of the easily overlooked signs in the zodiac when it comes to, like, superficially looking at it. It's very big. It's also very big in the sky. Pisces is one of the biggest constellations that we have among the zodiac constellations, the ecliptic constellations that make up the zodiac. I'm not sure if you are searching consciously for something, or that your subconscious has you searching for something, and there's no swords card here. There's no. I'm wondering. Let's draw another card before I say something too determined. Too determining here. Let's see. One more card, please. No, not quite. Not quite. They want to. And there we go. Ace of Pentacles. That's guidance. That's having a guide. I'm wondering still if you are aware of your guide, because it feels like your subconscious is your guide, but I'm still wondering if you are aware of it. And I can't really tell. So, and that's kind of pivotal to understand, I think, in this moment. So let me see. Can we have one more card, please, for this situation? Thank you. And we have a Swords card. So maybe you are aware of it, have been aware of it in the past. Seven of Swords. It is the card that I call Divine Discontent. Also the Queen of Swords at the bottom, which is the Libra card. It is also Moon in Aquarius, the Seven of Swords. And it's also a Venus card. So it's the perfect choice here, because it is reflecting the emotional world that we talked about, and the moon, the subconscious. So perhaps you are aware. I would say you are aware of that you're very much guided by your subconscious in the past. Okay. Cool. That's actually profound. That is actually profound. And let's see now how this past, this aspect of your past, because obviously we can't, this is like, it's all about the present moment, and it's the past position shows what is relevant of the past for the present situation. That's how I understand it. And for the present situation, we have as clarification the Queen of Swords again. We just had her right here. Queen of Swords. Okay, one more card here for the World card and the King of Cups in the present situation. No, not good enough. One more. No, that's too many. Seven of Swords again. Interesting. One more card, please. We have, thank you. Strength. There's a major arcana. And of course we also have the World card. The World. As the main energy, together with the King of Cups for the present moment. So the King of Cups is Pisces. And I already talked about Pisces. So yeah, I would say what I said, they are like Jupiter touching the inside of Pisces and just making it a big. Like Sagittarius is also ruled by Jupiter, but I think as Pisces is a more introverted sign, Sagittarius is more extroverted and is like big on the outside. It's easy to see what Sagittarius is about. Now the World card is Saturn in its essence, and Saturn to me is a feminine card. It is the card of understanding. So there is something that you need to understand, or that you're beginning to understand, or that you're completing to understand. And now I want to go to my little preparation that I did and put the World card and also the Strength card into perspective here. It's a bit hard to see, but I have some markings, like all these paths are numbered. And the World card is the last step towards our origin. So up here is where we come from. And down here is kind of like where our perspective is, like our everyday life and our physical body, our physical reality, if you can call it that. But this is really a concept of our actual reality, because like what is really real is kind of up for discussion. I think that's what we're heading towards, and more people are having doubts about what is real and what is not. Yeah, So the World card is the last step towards, you could say, unity consciousness. Uranus is the planet that is associated with things you just know, things you just do, and you have no idea why. It is coming from it. Most often, it comes from past lives, like when you've been, I don't know, if you've, could be anything, if you've lived a life as a shepherd, let's say, and in another life afterwards you come across sheep, like on a meadow, and you approach them and it just feels right. You just feel at home, and the animals also reacting to your energy and flock around you and feel safe around you, or something like that. That's Uranus, but it can also be when you are good, or when you use a certain craft that has an old tradition, like most crafts really do, I would say. And I always, like, for me, the best example is church windows, like these colorful tinted church windows that they don't really make any longer, or it is almost a lost art. Not quite yet, but it's on its way. It is a tradition that has been passed on from generation to generation, and it is something where we can't really say any longer why we do it. We just do it out of tradition. That's what Uranus is about in the Kabbalic system. And the World card is then the last step, the completion, to go from this, I don't even understand what I'm doing any longer, because understanding is the Saturn card. But the world itself is over here. So you have lost, in a way, your understanding of the world, but you're gaining unity consciousness, because in unity consciousness, why would we need to understand anything there? There's nothing to understand. In true unity consciousness, we just are. Nothing else. There's nothing going on. There is no movement. There is no perception. There is no empathy. There is certainly no logic. There is no emotion. There is no light. As we know it, at least, as we have, because light is already a concept. Even like if I say the highest thing is light or something like that, then I'm already putting a concept to it. There's nothing there except everything, but everything's homogeneous. There's no difference. But then again, there are like 3 levels to this, or within the Sephiroth, there are 3 levels towards true unity consciousness, which I think are the stars, but all of them together, not just one star, but the stars in general. And that goes through, Pluto is about subtle movement that we perceive as major transformations, but I mean, if you think about it, like, if you think of something that is one step away from unity consciousness, and so that it can have subtle movement within itself, like an ocean that has an undercurrent, but it's not a wave yet. If that is happening in the background, like this undercurrent might be subtle in the unity or almost unity consciousness, it has major effects on us, as subtle as it may be. This is a huge transformation, because we are so far down, I think, it would be an earthquake basically on our level. And then we also have Neptune there, which is just like the pleasure of just being almost complete, where you like, that's the first sensation that you can have outside of unity consciousness. You just perceive somewhat, no, you don't even perceive yourself, you just feel. Feeling is also the wrong word. There's just some sensation, something like goodness, some like the concept of goodness, maybe. That's the emergence of the concept of goodness. Maybe that's it. And I think the King of Cups is here because I think Pisces, as it's so big on the inside, has a natural inclination to, or a natural connection towards this kind of knowledge, or rather wisdom, because knowledge is, I want to say, too technical of a term, and perhaps you, Taurus, are tapping into the same, this Piscean sort of wisdom right now. And then we have the Strength card, which is a Sun card, but it's also I associated with. Oh, that's a different number. I'm sorry. This is the Justice card. This is using the Golden Dawn numeration of the cards, which is different to the more like the older tarot system that most cards use. So Aleister Crowley changed some associations of the cards and two numbers, which of the Strength card and the Justice card. So the strength of since I used the Golden Dawn system, is actually the connection between Sun and Mars here. And that is where, it is where our light meets the boundary. So I consider the Sun as a Sephiroth here in the Kabbalic system to be the source of our inner light. And the path towards Mars is showing us where our light doesn't shine, in which areas of our life our light doesn't shine, or how far our light shines. I think that's a better description. So how does that, I don't really see how does, I'm wondering, let's draw a few more cards here. If it's the wisdom that isn't reaching as far as you would like to, or further than before, could be negative or positive. What is happening here? What else can we see about the present moment for Taurus, please? There we go. It's the Eight of Wands. That's the Speed card. That's double Mercury. No, sorry, it's the Nine of Wands. What am I saying? Why did I say... Oh, that's so weird. I just saw, like, the Eight of Wands. It always has a meaning when this kind of stuff happens. So I mistook the Nine of Wands for the Eight of Wands. And I said speed. But it's actually a double moon card. A double moon card. The subconscious again. And the Deacon is about counterforce. Is speedy counterforce? Is speedy subconscious? Give me one more card here. I need a bit more information here. What's going on? just like a quick detour, like dipping one's toes into not new waters, no, that's not it, into a certain direction, but then retracting fast because the subconscious is at work warning us something. Okay, thank you. The Fool. There's something new. There is something new. And there's the Queen of Swords again. Which reminds me of the beginning of the year. And that I was talking about that, and to such an extent at the beginning of your reading, which I don't always do. That's the beginning of what I think is a much more meaningful calendar is Libra. And we have just crossed the 3-month, the first quarter year, the first quarter moon equivalent marker. And that perhaps, because we're talking about the subconscious, and your present moment has something to do with your past, in the sense that the subconscious influence is obviously ongoing and has led you on a path for the first 3 months of this year that you should not continue to be on in the coming month. Actually, in the present moment already not any longer, I would say. And with the Fool here, I want to say it's probably not a small shift. It is probably, it's not a, I don't want to say it's completely new. Probably not. It's not entirely new to you, but there is certainly a new aspect to it, an important new aspect to it. What you're leaving behind, what is different now compared to before. That is so fascinating. I love when it's so specific. Okay, let me make some space here. So we can have a look at the future now. We can also push this up a bit. I would like to push this one up here. Okay. And this over here. Okay, now we have some space. So now we don't need to shuffle. The Two of Wands is in the future position. Let's clarify. The Two of Wands for Taurus, for Capricorn season, at least most of it. And we have Judgment. And we already had the World. It's the two last cards in the Major Arcana series. Fascinating. One more card, please, for the future position. Seven of Pentacles. Card of waiting, somewhat. Seven of Pentacles, but also patience, but also humility. Like, we need to be humble when we wait, I guess, or I'm gonna say, if we want to have grace while waiting, we better be humble. But the Two of Wands is a very masculine initiatory card. It's the first decan of Aries, and in many traditions, Aries is the leading sign because it starts the zodiac. For me, it's the midpoint. Because my, like I said, calendar starts with Libra, so Aries naturally is like the full moon position, so to speak. And I think it is absolutely up for discussion if you consider Aries or Libra to be the starting point. But for me, the feminine force usually Depends on the perspective and the application, but usually, generally, the feminine force comes first and then the masculine force, because with quite frankly, if you think about pregnancy and how we come into being in our physical body here, there is always the female body, the female representation of us first. And also in the Kabbalah, that's not entirely true. I wanted to say that the feminine force comes first, but it's actually ambiguous. Because we generally count from top to bottom and then from right to left. And for the lower part of the Kabbalah, for the tree of life here, this is the feminine side, the right side. So the first side is the feminine side, and the second, the last on the same level, is the masculine side. But we switch around at the dashed line, which is called the abyss in the Golden Dawn tradition. So this is a masculine, Uranus is masculine, and Saturn is feminine. Yet Jupiter and Venus are feminine. So the first Sephiroth that is not neutral is a masculine one. But then again, the Sephiroth, the first one, Keter, it's probably threefold in itself. So, which is like a way to say it's a Trinity God. If you want to use the word God, I would say more like Trinity principle. And the stars obviously has no femininity or masculinity in it, but I would say Neptune is feminine and Pluto is masculine. Now it looks like after the stars comes Pluto and then Neptune, but that's not entirely true. I chose the order of the orbits here, but the numbers associated with these different concepts, this threefold concept within number one, within the first Sephiroth, is 1, 3, 2. Because the 2 always comes last. It's the least important number of the first 3 numbers, yet it is in the middle. It's a paradox. So it is not what I said. It's very ambiguous. It's very ambiguous what is first. Because I can't now even decide which one comes first, the 2 or the 3. Because if the first number is a 3 and not a 1, but within the 3 is 1, 2, 3 already, like how could I determine an order of importance? Like it's impossible. So it's a paradox. But I mean, it is the uppermost. It's the highest vibing energy that we have. Of course, it's gonna mess with our mind. What else would you expect? So apart from all that, is it really? Perhaps it kind of fluidly connects to what I said here in the present moment, something that is new, and yet again is not really new. You kind of know it, but it has never presented itself in the way that it does right now. And in the future, this kind of like, is it new, is it not new, maybe kind of continues, where you're like, what is chicken, what is egg here? What is bringing forth the other one? What has priority? I can't really tell. And perhaps the purpose is to also to go with that you can't tell, that you learn another paradox, to learn to live another paradox. I think paradoxes are pivotal to reaching to connect to the higher realms, because like I said, the higher you vibe, the higher you reach, the more paradoxes you're gonna encounter. And judgment is exactly what I talked about with Pluto. Pluto being the first movement, the undercurrent, and the big sea of unity consciousness. That is, when there is an undercurrent, not unity, not true unity consciousness any longer, but it's like a archaic, no, what's the word? Like a pre-creation soup, like like a big ocean where no matter, no time, no like singular consciousnesses exist yet. But some, like, there's the first current, there's the first movement of something, and I'm wondering what kind of first movement this is. It's something about being humble. Something where you need to be humble and paradoxical. What else can we see here? What else can we see here? It's also something about hope, because the Ten of Cups is at the bottom for this clarification. It's the last decan of Pisces. There's Pisces again, with its vast inner realm and its wisdom and its connectivity to the higher realms. What else can we see here? The stars, how lovely. I love this. And I'm gonna tell you in a second why. One more card, please. Thank you. Wow. And the Wheel of Fortune. At the bottom we have the Six of Wands, which says traditionally victory. I call it authenticity. The true victor is the one who is authentic, which is certainly a lesson for this time, the times that we are in. But let's look at the stars. It is, I think, the path between Saturn and Uranus, so the third and the second Sephiroth. You know, in the star card, usually there's a person depicted having two, what are called? Vessels? Or like, not cups. Let's call them cups. I don't know what to call them. Like 2 cups of water, and they're pouring them like from one cup to the other. And I think it needs, like, the star card is a balancing force. And we also have the stars up here, our guides, following once a star, reaching for the stars. And I think this path, this uppermost vertical path, that very much always speaks, like all the vertical, are these vertical? Sorry, horizontal path. Are talking about balance, because they need to balance feminine and masculine forces. And I have justice as the lowest balancing force, and then I have temperance, and then I have the stars as the stars as the highest balance that we need to find within ourselves. So that we can find the peace that we need to in order to reach for the stars. Now the Wheel of Fortune I have associated as the path between the Sun and Jupiter, and it's also a Jupiter card. it is becoming aware of the origins of time and space, because time and space originate or are in our physical world represented by Jupiter, which is also the, when it comes to volume at least, the biggest planet that we have by far. Because it's not the only gassy planet that we have, but it's definitely the most voluminous. Do you say it that way? I don't know. The biggest in volume. I'm also drawn to the 8 spokes of the wheel yet, but to be honest, I have not understood the 8 in terms of the tree of life yet. I have understood the 4, but not the 8 yet. Yeah, we had the 4 and the 8 here, and I talked about that. I said that the 8 is twice the 4, and usually I don't say that. Usually I do not have that connection, and it stood out to me in the moment, and I'm wondering if I'm supposed to see something right now that I have not seen before on the fly. So what I've seen with the 4, how I found the 4 most distinctly in the Tree of Life is the 4 Sephira in the middle. And then I also had, when I was half asleep last night, I kind of was shown that this is the Pentacle realm. This is the Wands realm. Very small, very particular. And then the Cups realm kind of is this realm. Sorry, that's the Sword realm. And then this is the Cups realm. So the swords and the cups are more the general, the more has more application for our life. But then again, the pentacles is probably the most applied one, since, I mean, the physical reality is very important to us, obviously. And then the wands one is that is the highest vibing one, that is a bit out there, and it's very specific. But I don't really see how a doubling of that has anything to do with the Wheel of Fortune and the Sun-Jupiter connection right now. So I'm a bit at a loss here about what I should do. And I think I should just go with not knowing, because there is a 6 of Wands at the bottom, and I said the true victor is the authentic one. So I have to stand up to my not knowing, my lack of knowledge. And I said humble. We need to be humble. We need to be patient. And grace comes in when we're not just patient, but humble. And I definitely want more grace in my life. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with not knowing, not having an answer, while trying to give an answer. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to give people an answer to the question, what is the future gonna hold for me? And the answer for me, for you, Taurus, for this coming season is paradoxical. I have an answer, but the answer is that I don't know. And that might seem like a no answer, but it's not. That's the core of the message. It's just a paradox. It just does it messes with our mind, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. I think that's what wants to come out here. I hope this helps you. I really do. And I also hope this leaves you well, and take care, and hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.